Fred MacMurray. Was born Frederick Martin MacMurray on August 30th, 1908, in Kankakee, Illinois, and raised in Beaver Dam, Wisconsin, where simplicity, responsibility, and hard work were everyday values. His upbringing in a modest Midwestern household shaped the calm, dependable persona audiences would later associate with him. Long before Hollywood, MacMurray's first passion was music. He played the saxophone with real dedication and even attended Carroll College in Wisconsin on a music scholarship, believing for a time that his future lay on bandstands rather than film sets. He performed in vaudeville and touring bands, experiences that gave him confidence, timing, and an effortless ease in front of crowds. That musical foundation quietly informed his acting style, relaxed, rhythmic, and unforced. By the time he transitioned into films in the early 1930s, MacMurray carried himself not as a performer seeking attention, but as a professional comfortable, simply doing the work. From Paramount star to trusted leading man, MacMurray's Hollywood career took off after he signed with Paramount Pictures, quickly earning recognition for his approachable charm and grounded presence. His breakout role in The Gilded Lily opposite Claudette Colbert in 1935 established him as a dependable leading man during the uncertainty of the Depression era. Audiences trusted him. He felt familiar, reassuring, and real. Throughout the late 1930s and 1940s, he starred alongside Hollywood's biggest actresses, including Katharine Hepburn and Carole Lombard, delivering performances that balanced confidence with warmth. Unlike flashier stars, MacMurray never dominated scenes through force. Instead, he invited viewers in through subtlety. That restraint became his signature. Directors valued him because he elevated material without overpowering it. By the time he reached his peak, MacMurray was known not just as a star, but as a steady professional, someone studios could rely on to carry both commercial and emotional weight. The role that changed everything. In 1944, Fred MacMurray permanently altered his screen image with Double Indemnity, directed by Billy Wilder. Playing Walter Neff, an insurance salesman pulled into murder through temptation and moral weakness, MacMurray delivered a performance that stunned audiences. Gone was the easygoing charmer. In his place stood a conflicted man unraveling under guilt and desire. The role proved MacMurray's dramatic depth and secured his place in film history. His performance remains one of the defining achievements of film noir, built on quiet tension rather than melodrama. What made it unforgettable was his restraint. MacMurray never asked for sympathy, yet earned it. Afterward, no one could dismiss him as only a light entertainer. He had shown that beneath his calm exterior was a profound understanding of human complexity, a skill he would carry into every role that followed. A wholesome icon for a changing America. Despite his dramatic success, MacMurray became most beloved for his family-friendly roles in the 1950s and 1960s, especially his collaborations with Walt Disney Studios. Films like The Shaggy Dog and The Absent-Minded Professor showcased his gift for gentle comedy and warmth without becoming silly. He played fathers not as caricatures, but as thoughtful, flawed men doing their best. That image carried seamlessly into television with My Three Sons, where MacMurray portrayed widower Steve Douglas for 12 seasons. At a time of cultural change, his character represented patience, stability, and quiet guidance. Viewers saw him not as a star, but as a presence they could trust. MacMurray understood the responsibility of that image and never treated it lightly. He knew audiences welcomed him into their homes each week, and he honored that trust with consistency and sincerity. Love, loss, and a life. Anchored by family behind the camera, Fred MacMurray lived a deeply private life centered on family rather than fame. His first marriage to Lillian "Lily" Lamont in 1936 brought stability during his rise in Hollywood. Together, they adopted 2 children and built a quiet home away from the spotlight. Lily's death in 1953 deeply affected MacMurray, prompting him to withdraw from public life for a time. He later found lasting companionship with actress June Haver, whom he married in 1954. Their marriage endured for decades, rooted in shared values rather than Hollywood glamour. Together, they adopted twin daughters and prioritized home life above career ambition. MacMurray often chose roles based on family needs rather than artistic prestige. That decision reflected who he truly was, a man who valued constancy over applause and personal loyalty over public image, even at the height of his fame. A quiet fortune, built on practical wisdom. While many stars of his era struggled financially, Fred MacMurray approached money with discipline and foresight. He invested wisely, purchasing a large ranch in California's Russian River Valley, where he raised cattle and cultivated crops. Farming was not a hobby for show, but a genuine commitment. He also invested in real estate, apartment buildings, and small businesses, ensuring long-term stability. MacMurray was among the first actors to negotiate percentages of film profits, a practice uncommon at the time. Despite rumors exaggerating his wealth, he remained modest, living comfortably but never extravagantly. His wealth was a tool, not an identity. Even after retirement, he maintained a simple lifestyle rooted in routine and self-reliance. The land he cultivated later became a vineyard, continuing his legacy in a tangible, grounded way. MacMurray's financial success mirrored his personal philosophy. Steady, thoughtful, and quietly enduring. A private man in a public industry, Fred MacMurray was famously reserved, rarely making public statements or engaging in Hollywood controversy. He believed decency did not require announcements. That quiet nature often led people to underestimate his depth. He preferred actions over words and loyalty over display. On set, colleagues described him as kind, professional, and unfailingly respectful. He treated crew members with the same courtesy he offered stars, never forgetting where he came from. MacMurray avoided political grandstanding and rarely discussed personal matters publicly, choosing instead to live his values privately. That restraint became part of his integrity. In an industry built on visibility, MacMurray's dignity stood out precisely because it was understated. He did not chase relevance, trends, or approval. He showed up, did the work, went home to his family, and built a life that balanced fame with normalcy, a rare achievement in Hollywood. The unexpected guest at his farewell. When Fred MacMurray passed away in 1991, his funeral reflected the man he was: quiet, respectful, and intimate. Family, close friends, and longtime colleagues gathered without spectacle. Yet among those present was Tommy Kirk, a former child actor who had once worked closely with MacMurray at Disney. His presence surprised some attendees, not because it was unwelcome, but because of how rarely Hollywood acknowledged relationships shaped by compassion rather than publicity. Kirk's career had ended abruptly years earlier due to circumstances rooted in the rigid attitudes of the time. While MacMurray never spoke publicly about such matters, those who knew him understood he judged people by character, not labels. On set, he had always treated Kirk with professionalism and kindness. Kirk's attendance was not symbolic or performative, it was personal. A quiet farewell from someone who remembered decency when it mattered most. Declining, health and quiet strength. In his later years, MacMurray faced serious health challenges with the same composure that defined his life. A lifelong smoker, he battled throat cancer, later experiencing a stroke that temporarily limited his speech and movement. Through extensive rehabilitation, he recovered much of his strength, showing remarkable determination. He also lived with leukemia for many years, a private struggle he rarely discussed publicly. Even as illness narrowed his world, MacMurray remained mentally sharp and emotionally present with his family. He did not dramatize his suffering or seek sympathy. Those close to him recalled his gratitude for small comforts and his continued interest in the world around him. When he passed away on November 5, 1991, from pneumonia, it marked the end of a life lived steadily, courageously, and without excess. His final years reflected resilience rather than resignation, a legacy of quiet decency. Fred MacMurray's legacy is not built on scandal, controversy, or spectacle. It rests on consistency, reliability, and humanity. He portrayed fathers, husbands, and ordinary men with sincerity, offering audiences reassurance rather than illusion. His career spanned genres and generations, yet his character never shifted with fashion. The quiet moment at his funeral, marked by an unexpected but deeply meaningful presence, captured who he truly was. A man who lived without judgment, valued loyalty, and practiced kindness without advertisement. In an industry often defined by noise, Fred MacMurray remains remembered for his calm. His films continue to play, his television work continues to comfort, and his example continues to matter. He proved that decency does not need applause to endure. Sometimes the most powerful statements are the ones made silently, remembered not by headlines but by the people whose lives were quietly touched.